What really happened behind the scenes of the Mamas and the Papas? Their music defined an era, but their personal lives were filled with turmoil, love affairs, and tragic endings. From the dreamy harmonies of California Dreamin' to the backstage betrayals that nearly tore them apart, this is the real story of a band that captivated the world. In this deep dive, we uncover the triumphs, scandals, and legacies of Cass Elliot, John Phillips, Michelle Phillips, and Denny Doherty. Stay with us until the end as we unravel the untold truths behind their meteoric rise and heartbreaking fall. The Mamas and the Papas didn't just create music, they crafted a sound that would forever symbolize the 1960s counterculture. Formed in 1965, the group consisted of John Phillips, Michelle Phillips, Cass Elliot, and Denny Doherty, each bringing unique talents that blended into one of the most recognizable harmonies in rock history. Their journey to stardom was fast-paced, with their debut album, If You Can Believe Your Eyes and Ears, producing hit after hit, including California Dreamin' and Monday, Monday. However, their road to success was anything but smooth. John Phillips' meticulous perfectionism in the studio often led to tensions, while personal relationships within the band created additional complications. The group's image projected a carefree, bohemian lifestyle, but behind closed doors, jealousy and romantic entanglements began to erode their foundation. Despite these challenges, their music resonated with millions, shaping the folk rock movement of the decade. Their innovative vocal harmonies and introspective lyrics captured the social and political changes of the time, making them pioneers in bridging folk traditions with contemporary pop and rock influences. Their early success set them apart, but it was the internal struggles that would ultimately shape their downfall. Cass Elliot wasn't just a singer. She was the heart and soul of the Mamas and the Papas. Born Ellen Naomi Cohen in 1941, her powerful voice and undeniable charisma made her a standout presence in the group. From an early age, Cass displayed a passion for music, participating in school productions and immersing herself in the folk scene of the early 60s. Her warm, expressive vocals became the defining sound of many of the band's biggest hits, earning her a place among the most influential female vocalists of her generation. Beyond her musical talents, Cass was also a trailblazer who refused to conform to societal beauty standards. In an industry that often prioritized image over talent, she shattered expectations and inspired countless fans with her confidence and stage presence. However, her personal struggles were significant. Constantly battling insecurities and industry pressures, she faced harsh criticism about her weight and appearance, even from her own bandmates. Despite these challenges, she pursued a solo career after the band's breakup, finding success with songs like Dream, A Little Dream of Me. Her life was tragically cut short in 1974 at just 32 years old. While rumors persisted about her cause of death, including the infamous ham sandwich myth, medical reports confirmed she died of heart failure. Her passing was a devastating loss to the music world, but her legacy as a vocal powerhouse remains intact, influencing generations of artists who followed. Denny Doherty was the glue that held the harmonies of the Mamas and the Papas together. Born in Halifax, Nova Scotia, in 1940, he grew up surrounded by music, which shaped his deep appreciation for melody and storytelling. His smooth, emotive tenor voice was a crucial element of the group's signature sound, effortlessly blending with Cass Elliot's soaring vocals and John and Michelle Phillips' harmonies. Denny's charm and vocal talent made him a standout in the band, but his personal life was deeply intertwined with the group's inner conflicts. His romantic involvement with Michelle Phillips, while she was still married to John, created immense friction and nearly led to the band's collapse. Cass Elliot, who harbored unrequited feelings for Denny, also found herself caught in the emotional turmoil, adding to the tensions within the group. After the Mamas and the Papas disbanded, Denny pursued a solo career and found unexpected success in television, becoming a beloved presence in children's programming. Despite his post-band achievements, he struggled with alcoholism, a battle that lasted for decades. In 2007, Denny passed away at the age of 66 due to kidney failure, marking the end of an era. His contributions to music, however, continue to be celebrated, with his voice forever etched in the timeless melodies of the Mamas and the Papas. John Phillips was the mastermind behind the Mamas and the Papas, crafting the melodies and lyrics that would define a generation. Born on August 30, 1935, in Parris Island, South Carolina, he grew up with a mix of military discipline from his father and artistic curiosity from his mother. This duality would shape his approach to music, structured yet deeply expressive. As a teenager, he was drawn to the rebellious sounds of early rock and roll, idolizing artists like Elvis Presley and Buddy Holly. However, it was the folk movement of the late 1950s and early 1960s that truly captivated him, inspiring him to pursue a career in music. Before forming the Mamas and the Papas, John co-founded the Dreamin, a folk trio that found moderate success. However, he was ambitious, always searching for a way to break through the mainstream. That opportunity came when he met Michelle Gilliam, a free-spirited young woman who shared his passion for music. They married in 1962, and soon after, John began assembling what would become the Mamas and the Papas. Recruiting Denny Doherty and Cass Elliot, the group relocated to Los Angeles, where they worked tirelessly to perfect their harmonies and songwriting. John's songwriting genius was undeniable. He penned the group's biggest hits, including California Dreamin', Monday, and Creek Alley, which chronicled the band's rise to fame. His ability to blend folk, pop, and rock elements created a sound that felt both timeless and reflective of the rapidly changing social landscape of the 1960s. However, his controlling nature and perfectionism often led to conflicts within the band. Despite his professional success, John struggled with personal demons. His marriage to Michelle was volatile, further strained by her affair with Denny Doherty. As the band's tensions grew, so did his dependence on drugs and alcohol. After the Mamas and the Papas disbanded in 1968, he attempted a solo career, but never regained the same level of success. His later years were marred by legal troubles, including a conviction for drug trafficking in 1981. He passed away in 2001 at the age of 65 due to heart failure, leaving behind a complex legacy of musical brilliance and personal turmoil. Michelle Phillips was the embodiment of California cool, ethereal beauty, a captivating voice, and a free spirit that defined an era. Born on June 4, 1944, in Long Beach, California, Michelle's early life was marked by tragedy. Her mother passed away when she was just 5 years old, leaving her to be raised by her father, a widowed merchant marine. This upbringing instilled in her a resilience that would later help her navigate the often brutal world of fame. As a teenager, Michelle developed a deep love for music and art. A trip to Mexico City exposed her to vibrant Latin rhythms, which broadened her musical perspective. Upon returning to the U.S., she pursued modeling, but soon found herself drawn to the folk music scene, where she met John Phillips. Their whirlwind romance led to marriage when she was just 18, and she quickly became an integral part of his musical vision. Michelle's soft yet haunting soprano voice became a signature element of the Mamas and the Papas sound. Her harmonies blended seamlessly with Cass, Denny, and John, adding a unique layer of depth to their music. However, behind the dreamy facade of success, turmoil brewed. Michelle's affair with Denny Doherty created a storm within the band, leading to her temporary expulsion in 1966. Although she was later reinstated, the damage to her marriage was irreparable, and she eventually divorced John in 1970. Despite the band's disintegration, Michelle refused to fade into obscurity. She transitioned to acting, landing roles in major films like Dillinger and The Last Movie. Her performance in Dillinger earned her a Golden Globe nomination, proving she was more than just a singer. In the 1980s and 1990s, she found success on television, starring in Knots Landing and making guest appearances on Beverly Hills 90,210. Her personal life remained colorful, with high-profile relationships involving Hollywood icons like Jack Nicholson and Warren Beatty. Through it all, Michelle maintained a level of grace and independence that set her apart. Unlike her former bandmates, she avoided the self-destructive tendencies that plagued the group. Today, she remains the last surviving member of the Mamas and the Papas, a living testament to the band's enduring impact. For all their musical brilliance, the Mamas and the Papas were a ticking time bomb of personal conflicts, romantic betrayals, and substance abuse. While their songs painted an image of harmony and togetherness, the reality behind the scenes was far from idyllic. By 1967, tensions within the band had reached a boiling point. Michelle's affair with Denny Doherty had irreversibly damaged the group's dynamic, and Cass Elliot, who had harbored feelings for Denny, felt alienated. John Phillips, once the band's leader and creative force, was struggling to maintain control. His frustration with the band's internal discord manifested in increasingly erratic behavior, and his heavy drug use only exacerbated the situation. The group's last studio album, The Papas and the Mamas, released in 1968, was a reflection of their fractured relationships. Unlike their earlier works, which radiated warmth and cohesion, this album was recorded in separate sessions, with members barely interacting. The songwriting took a darker turn, mirroring the sense of impending collapse. In 1968, Cass Elliot left to pursue a solo career, signaling the official end of the Mamas and the Papas. Without her powerhouse vocals, the group couldn't sustain its success. John attempted to revive the band with new members in the 1980s, but it failed to capture the magic of the original lineup. The group's story was over, but their music remained immortal. Despite their tumultuous history, the Mamas and the Papas left an indelible mark on music history. Their pioneering blend of folk, pop, and rock influenced countless artists, from Fleetwood Mac to contemporary indie folk musicians. Their harmonies, crafted with precision and emotion, remain some of the most iconic in rock history. Their music continues to be celebrated, appearing in countless films, TV shows, and commercials. California Dreamin' remains a cultural touchstone, evoking a sense of nostalgia and longing for a simpler time. Monday, the first song by a mixed-gender group to hit #1 on the Billboard charts, still resonates with audiences today. In 1998, they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, cementing their place among music's greats. Each member's individual story, filled with triumphs and tragedies, adds to the enduring mystique of the band. Cass Elliot is remembered as a trailblazer for plus-sized women in music. Denny Doherty's voice remains a testament to the magic of pure melody. John Phillips' songwriting legacy continues to inspire, and Michelle Phillips, the last surviving member, keeps their story alive through her interviews and public appearances. The Mamas and the Papas were more than just a band. They became a symbol of the countercultural movement of the 1960s. Their music captured the spirit of an era defined by free love, artistic experimentation, and social change. While the Beatles and the Rolling Stones dominated rock, the Mamas and the Papas carved out a unique space where folk, pop, and rock blended seamlessly, influencing the sound of future generations. Their harmonies were not just technically brilliant, they were emotionally evocative. Songs like California Dreamin' painted vivid imagery of longing and change, while Monday captured the unpredictability of life and love. Their lyrics resonated with young audiences, mirroring their hopes, fears, and the desire for something greater than the status quo. Their ability to craft introspective yet accessible music made them pioneers of the folk rock genre, paving the way for bands like Fleetwood Mac, Crosby, Stills and Nash, and the Eagles. Beyond music, the Mamas and the Papas helped shape the fashion and aesthetic of the 1960s. Michelle Phillips, with her effortless bohemian style, became an icon of hippie fashion, inspiring countless young women with her long flowing dresses, fringe jackets, and natural beauty. Her look was emulated by artists like Stevie Nicks and later modern-day stars in the indie folk genre. The band also played a crucial role in launching the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967, one of the most influential music festivals in history. John Phillips was instrumental in organizing the event, which introduced Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, and The Who to American audiences. This festival laid the foundation for future cultural phenomena like Woodstock and Coachella, making their influence extend beyond just their own music. Beneath their perfect harmonies and onstage chemistry, the Mamas and the Papas were embroiled in one of the most infamous love triangles in rock history. Their relationships were not just tangled, they were explosive, affecting the band's dynamics, their music, and ultimately, their downfall. The most notorious affair was between Michelle Phillips and Denny Doherty. Michelle, married to John Phillips, found herself drawn to Denny, whose charm and sensitivity made him difficult to resist. This affair, however, was not a secret. It became the source of deep resentment within the group. John Phillips, known for his control and temper, was devastated by the betrayal. He responded by briefly firing Michelle from the band in 1966, though she was later reinstated after fan outcry and pressure from the record label. The fallout from this scandal was made even more complicated by Cass Elliott's unrequited love for Denny. Cass had strong feelings for him, but he did not reciprocate them. Watching him engage in an affair with Michelle was painful for Cass, creating an emotional rift that never fully healed. The tension affected the group's performances, with resentment and heartbreak simmering beneath their seemingly flawless harmonies. The emotional chaos extended beyond the band's inner circle. Michelle and John eventually divorced in 1970, marking the end of their creative and personal partnership. John, deeply wounded by Michelle's affair, spiraled further into substance abuse. Meanwhile, Michelle moved on to a series of high-profile relationships, including flings with rock icons like Warren Beatty and Jack Nicholson. While the Mamas and the Papas seemed to radiate a carefree, sun-soaked image of the 1960s, their personal battles with addiction told a much darker story. Behind the glowing success of their music, substance abuse played a critical role in their eventual downfall. John Phillips was particularly affected, struggling with drug addiction throughout his career. Initially known for his work ethic and perfectionist tendencies, he soon found himself unable to control his dependence on drugs, particularly heroin and alcohol. His substance abuse began affecting his songwriting and leadership, creating further instability within the band. By the 1970s, he had become so entrenched in addiction that his career all but collapsed. He was later arrested in the 1980s for drug trafficking and spent time in prison, further tarnishing his once glorious reputation. Cass Elliot, though not known to be a heavy drug user, faced significant health struggles due to pressures to conform to industry beauty standards. In an attempt to lose weight rapidly, she engaged in dangerous crash diets, often resorting to extreme measures. This erratic weight fluctuation is believed to have contributed to her heart problems. While rumors of her overdosing have persisted, official reports confirm that she died of heart failure. Denny Doherty, often seen as the more level-headed member of the group, also battled alcoholism. The emotional strain of his relationships within the band and the pressures of fame led him to turn to alcohol as a coping mechanism. While he continued to perform and create music after the band's breakup, his struggles with addiction lingered for decades. Michelle Phillips was the only member who largely avoided substance abuse, a factor that likely contributed to her ability to sustain a successful post-band career. While she witnessed firsthand the destruction that addiction caused within the group, she managed to stay away from its grip, focusing instead on her acting and business ventures. The band's struggles with drugs and alcohol were reflective of the broader 1960s rock culture, where substance abuse was often glamorized. However, their story serves as a cautionary tale. While music can make legends, addiction can destroy them. For all their personal conflicts and struggles, the Mamas and the Papas were undeniably one of the most innovative recording artists of their time. Their studio work was defined by a meticulous attention to detail, primarily due to John Phillips' perfectionism. While this led to incredible harmonies and a polished sound, it also created tension within the group. John was known for his strict standards, often forcing the band to redo takes dozens of times until every note was perfect. This approach led to some of their greatest recordings, but it also drained the group's enthusiasm. Cass Elliot, in particular, grew frustrated with John's controlling nature, as she felt her creative input was often dismissed. Despite these tensions, their studio sessions produced some of the most memorable songs of the decade. Their layered harmonies were revolutionary at the time, setting a new standard for vocal arrangements in pop music. They worked closely with legendary producer Lou Adler, who helped refine their sound and push their artistic boundaries. However, as the band's internal struggles grew, their studio time became increasingly dysfunctional. By their final album, members were often recording separately, a stark contrast to the unified sound that had once defined them. Their magic was fading, and everyone knew it. Even in the midst of their turmoil, the Mamas and the Papas left behind a recording legacy that continues to be studied and admired. Their approach to vocal layering and melody construction remains influential, with modern artists still drawing inspiration from their studio techniques. Despite their tumultuous relationships, personal struggles, and eventual disbandment, the Mamas and the Papas left behind an enduring legacy that continues to shape the world of music. Their unique blend of folk, pop, and rock not only defined the sound of the 1960s, but also influenced generations of artists who followed. Their music transcended time, evoking the emotions of an era marked by cultural shifts, rebellion, and artistic freedom. Songs like California Dreamin', Monday, Monday, and Dedicated to the One I Love remain as impactful today as they were upon release, proving the timeless nature of their craft. Their storytelling, vocal harmonies, and lyrical depth continue to serve as blueprints for musicians seeking to create emotionally resonant music. Beyond their sound, their story remains one of both inspiration and caution. Their rapid rise to fame, the internal conflicts, and the personal battles with addiction and heartbreak reflect the realities of the music industry, where success can be as fleeting as it is glorious. Their journey serves as a reminder of the complexities behind the glamour of celebrity, where artistic brilliance is often accompanied by personal turmoil. Though Cass Elliot, John Phillips, and Denny Doherty are no longer with us, their voices continue to live on, immortalized in recordings that still captivate audiences. Michelle Phillips, the last surviving member, carries their legacy forward, ensuring that the Mamas and the Papas are never forgotten. They may have been a product of the 1960s, but their influence extends far beyond their time, cementing their place as legends in the history of music. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into their story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more fascinating journeys into the lives of legendary artists. Let us know in the comments which song by the Mamas and the Papas is your favorite and what impact their music has had on you. Stay tuned for more stories from the golden era of music as we continue to explore the legends who shaped the soundtracks of our lives. Until next time, keep the music alive and never stop dreaming.